Okay, so for my students, what we're doing today is we're just going to record this awesome review session that we're doing so that those of you who have missed class today because of our cancellation can benefit. We're going through the business plan rubric, and the advice that I've given everybody is to start with the easiest thing on there, i.e. the title slide. You're going to say your name and the name of your product, right? Once you can kind of get that momentum going, you're always better off. So, but everyone. Yeah. Okay, I think we can see that. So what we're doing right now is Arthur D. Little's product lifecycle model, and we're giving some real examples from students' different projects to kind of help. So Anaya, what is your business? Okay, so an AI assistant that makes calls, helps you keep organized, kind of like a personal digitalized assistant, but obviously AI enabled on steroids. Okay, good. What did your feasibility analysis reveal? How did you feel?
So it will only take things on the app. And then we talked to Oscar about it. He said maybe personalized it versus like US, people have accents for English, but like in Mexico, they want to get it accent with like it's language. So also that, and then a lot of older people said that they would use her stuff, but they would be a little skeptical about like the AI and what like it'll have access to. So banking information is something that they probably would like give person access to. Things like anything doing with social security, they can give person access to, and they would use it sparingly. We also found like the demographic may not be a target audience for everybody. It may not be a demand for everybody. So like realizing like maybe people with disabilities and older people.
Okay, so first of all, it sounds like you did a fantastic job on your feasibility analysis, right? The second thing to think about, now let's do this together. Do you think you're in the decline phase? No, I don't think anything in AI is in decline yet. It's way too early, right? So probably not. Maturity? That doesn't make a lot of sense either, right? Growth or introduction. Now this is a little bit harder. So maybe ask a bigger question to yourself. Is AI stuff in growth generally? But forget your app, but AI in general. Is it in the growth right now?
Underlying systems are definitely in growth because they've been around for a long time. But I think the application might be somewhere in the intro because it's like now we're figuring out a lot of different ways to utilize the technology that we're using.
Do you guys catch that? That's one that is a coherent form of logic. What do you think? Mm-hmm.
Right here. Move out to scale and over to the very state. Back to our product and yeah, that's always right seeing that moving for only years. So I mean, I think it might not be intro stage, as I said, yeah, system stereotypes. You can do more. So it might not necessarily be the first stage, but you need to know if they know that you do assistant, even you I did use assistant. So probably early because you could do more, much more. Yeah.
So Anaya, what do you think?
They were saying like if first stuff you beat the accuracy rate of like books and series, it would be more beneficial because it would be need for a series of they would just use first stuff. So I would feel like maybe like still like I would look maybe middle between like intro and growth for us because it's something that we're trying to introduce, but it can have a lot of growth. It has to be way more.
I love it. And by the way, don't ever think like, it's not like Shota, you are right and Anaya, you're wrong. Don't think of these in those terms. Think of it as, this is my assessment. I'm going to act on that assessment and do something with it. The customer will ultimately tell you whether you were right or wrong. Does that make sense? But what you're definitely going to be wrong on is taking no action. So even if you're not perfect, but you're at least doing something, you're falling forward, and that's better than nothing, right? So, and by the way, I see the argument, like we'll kind of deconstruct this a little bit. There's definitely a demand in the AI industry. It's growing, and we see that Siri, Google Assistant, whatever. You may have to tell me about the Google Assistant. It sounds cool. I'm a little bit of a dinosaur, but it sounds cool. Maybe I need that in my life. But that's an argument for that. During your feasibility analysis, you also said, hey, you know what? People are trying to figure out if they want it for banking, if it's senior. I don't quite know who my customer is, which is a red flag for I don't know if there's demand or not. But it's okay to say, I think we're kind of in the middle because of both of these arguments. That's totally acceptable. So your implication. All right, I'm going to give you my real opinion, and then I'm going to give you the opinion for this particular project. My real opinion would be you probably need to go back and do more in your feasibility analysis and figure out exactly who your target market is, like senior citizens, disabilities, Spanish speakers, like whatever that is. But that's not what we're going to do for this class. For this particular project, though, the implication might be start with something and just test it out. You continue the feasibility. So because we don't fully know who our audience is, we're going to say, we're going to try a bunch of things. We're going to take what we call the shotgun approach. Shotgun fires, it fires like that, doesn't fire straight. Just see what lands. We're going to make this for Spanish speakers, people with disabilities, and forgetful people. And we're only going to make it for personal organizing because we want to get the AI perfect. Then we'll move on into buying things or banking information. And that is a robust decision, and that's okay. Actually, how you feeling? Is that a hand or two hands? Teasing you. Feeling good? Frank, can we pick on you? So your app or your product is what?
Chips. Southern flavored inspired chips.
Okay.
So we have 4 flavors: Memphis barbecue, Nashville hot chicken, banana pudding,
okay,
and biscuits with gravy. Yeah, chips, so different chips flavor. I think from my interviews and thoughts, because I haven't brought them together, but I've seen them, I feel like the different flavors are in different sections. So like down in Mexico, they like stuff that are like hot and spicy. So they were partial to the Memphis barbecue and the Nashville hot chicken. The remaining 2 were sort of like curious, like, this seems interesting. I'm curious to see what it tastes like. And kind of the same thing here. I think most people here, they like salty chips. So definitely Memphis barbecue and Nashville hot chicken. And it was kind of like the same across the board. Some outliers, some people was like, was that, and something like that. So what I'm thinking of for the life cycle, the development life cycle, is that the Memphis barbecue and the Nashville hot chicken chips, they're probably in the maturity stage because chips in its own right is in maturity. Like those flavors are mature because I feel like people are used to flavors like that. They are not like very novel and stuff. But the remaining 2, banana pudding and biscuits and gravy, they're more in the intro stage. Because it's like novel. People are really curious about it. It's not really like a demand. They just want to try to see if they like it. And I assume that if they like it, they'll go with it. So I think that's where I is right now.
Okay, I love your thinking. And I'm just gonna tease you a little bit. Okay. You could even do 2 of them to show 2 different things. And that's okay. You can say for the regular Nashville hot flavors, it's maturity. It's just one flavor among something that's well established. And for biscuits and gravy and banana pudding, potato chips, it's very much the intro because people are just like, I don't know if I like this. Now, here's another argument that you can make. You don't have to do this. We're just brainstorming. I've always thought that, and this is me looking at stocks, and this comes from your industry analysis, right? Junk food and packaged foods may be in the decline phase. I don't know. I'm wondering if it's in the decline phase, but I also know that once this AI bubble like pops in the stock market, people are gonna get real poor real quick. So maybe these things will have a revival, right? I mean, when people are poor, they buy potato chips and Campbell's soup and stuff like that. When people have more money, they tend to go for healthier things. People have more money now, sort of. I can't. I'm having a little trouble explaining and understanding the dichotomy between Main Street and Wall Street. I don't understand it, to be honest, right now. This is a weird time in our history. But if you believe what I said, that we're in the decline phase for all packaged foods, including chips, what you're saying is that we're going to introduce something and revitalize it. Or you say that because I recognize it's in the decline phase, we want to revitalize it and make money in a declining market. Other players are going to get out. All we have to do is weather the storm. Okay. I've made the same argument about small universities, right? I'm not just talking about Fisk. I'm talking about all sorts of, there's universities all across the US that have 2,000 students or less. And we all know what the demographic cliff is, right? There's fewer 18 to 25-year-olds. It's kind of a generational population drop that's happening. People just had fewer babies because of COVID and because of the 2008 recession. And it's a demographic trend, and that's across all demographic groups. And people panic, and I say the same thing. All you have to do is weather the storm for like a decade, and all these other universities are going to close. And those that last are going to have a huge competitive advantage because it's easier to close a university than it is to open a new one. By the same token, Frank, all you have to do is weather the storm. And even if we're still in the decline phase, you'll be one of the last players standing. That could be a conclusion. And you're going to help weather that storm by having the mainstream flavors and maybe introducing something a little new. You have your everyday Nashville hot chicken, and you're going to introduce something new. Does that make sense? Do you guys feel like, oh yeah, Frank?
Yeah, I just had is it possible for an industrial product to go straight to the climate without going through the rest of it? Like,
yes. You know what they are, right? They'll jump straight from intro to decline. In fact, this will be really, really short.
Short.
Fashion. Things that trend during the holidays, like children's toys at a certain time of year. A lot of technology. Spirit Halloween. That's their whole business model.
Yeah.
Lots of things fall into that. A lot of tech, though. Don't forget a lot of tech. A lot of tech only lasts for 6 months. You love it? Too bad, it's already gone. But what you hope for is there's a little bit of an echo that integrates into the larger picture. Because a lot of times, you remember I showed you this on the slides? There's a lot of things, as we talk about products versus the industry. TVs are a great example of this, right? You had black and white TVs that had their whole thing. Then you had color TVs. Then you had big screen TVs. Then you had HD TVs. And each of those individual products does, but the overall industry of the TV is probably something like this. And that's where this thing gets a little funky. How are we feeling? Well, your business fits in an industry trend, like the one we just did with Frank. He might be here, but this is the overall industry. You might be here. You are one small player in a much larger industry. This is an industry tool, but you're identifying where you sit. Makes sense. And you can look at the industry, the individual products, but it's more stereotypically used. This is kind of an extra explanation. So Tavian, what we're doing is we're going through the individual items in the business plan, the rubric itself, to kind of help you guys get started. Let me ask you this, and sorry, I get jazzed up about these things. We still have plenty of time. Tavian, we'll do yours next. Your business is what? Running shoes, that's right, okay. What did you find in your feasibility analysis? What did you discover?
Last like longer than like the regular time I shoot in my class. So like at first, like in the first little trial, then maybe they last about 6 to 8 months. But we got a lot of people who didn't work out the last 10 years, so like they can keep them in, so like you have to like make them last for like at least like a year. Presentation is like shipping, so you have to go through like a different shipping company.
Let's use a couple examples. Now, there's a couple ways to look at this, and I think this is your question. And I like, how do we look? So you could actually say most people in the shoe industry are right here, but we're maybe right here because we're different. So let's use two different forms of logic for you, Tavion. You can say the rest of the shoe industry is here. Running shoes have been around a long time. That's not changing. But what we're doing is we're talking about introducing a fundamentally different kind of shoe that's going to last. This is the only pair of running shoes you're going to need for your whole life. This is so fundamentally different than this that we think it's in the intro phase because we're still not sure if there's even a demand for this.
Shoes like that, any type of like any type of like grounding that you're also like whether it's gravel, grass, just dirt, like anything like that, like just like
And yet your logic still holds. Everybody else is here. We're doing something so fundamentally different. We're still trying to figure out if there's a demand for it. You see that? Now here's another logic. Maybe you say that's not so different. There's a demand for it. We got that. We can manufacture it quickly. We're going to jump straight to the maturity phase. But in order to succeed, we're going to partner with our friends in Mexico and do a better job with the manufacturing. That's how we're going to be successful. Our differentiation on the product side is not so dramatic. But we will succeed because we make that stuff better, faster, and cheaper. That could be the conclusion. That's your implication. That's another way to look at it. But you notice each time we've explained our logic, and you'll need to do this in your video, but also in your little notes under the PowerPoint notes. You've explained, but most importantly, what am I going to do about that? Does that make sense? And once again, this is, I think, where fifth students thrive more than anywhere else on the planet, because you understand that critical thinking. You don't just show me that you can use the tool. You show me what you're going to do about it. Make sense? Any questions? Should we jump down to the next item in the rubric?
Yes.
Let's see what we have here. We have, so industry analysis. Okay, industry structure and how this will impact your actions. So we know that's the BCG2 matrix, right? Do you guys remember the BC? And you know what the worst part about this is? I said many, I don't remember if there's anybody sitting in the room today, but I said many times in lecture, do not use the BCG one. And there was like 6 people on the lecture. I said, if you have anything with a cash cow, a dog, a star, a question mark, you know that's the wrong matrix. And sure enough, I had people talking about cash cows, dogs, stars, and question marks. That is a very different matrix. That you will talk about that in your capstone class, not in this class. That's it. It's also used in marketing. You know, a lot of these tools and entrepreneurship more generally, because we're a relatively new field and because we're a little bit of everything, we steal a lot. Yeah. I mean, this tool, the Arthur D. Little, it's used a lot in strategy. It's used a lot in innovation studies. It's not specific. I mean, I guess a business plan could be considered true entrepreneurial stuff, but I'm not even sure that's true.
I think entrepreneurship is some of it is a combination things
Yeah.
as well. So wonderful.
We're a beautiful painting, right? So I know we have 4 of them, right? So don't reinvent the wheel. Steal like a good entrepreneur from my slides, right? I don't have those in PDF for a reason, so you can steal them. You know, in ancient Sparta, they used to steal, and that's okay. I mean, that's a different kind of stealing that's maybe less okay. You get my point. Okay, so we got fragmented. We have specialized. We have volume. We have stalemate. We have, shoes just squeak everywhere. We have size of comp advantage. We have, Frank, you're on fire today. Keep it up. Scope for differentiation. Okay. You guys remember this? So, anybody like, hey, I really need help with this one. What do I do? And Joe, I pick on either you or Tavion because I think you're both the freshmen here. Do you guys feel good about this?
Business version of like something like that. So.
Well, isn't that what we do though when we make a 2x2 chart or a graph? We make everything look mathematical even if it's not. Right? So let's drop down here. Let's take your tennis shoes, and I'm just going to kind of go off what you told me in your feasibility analysis. Tennis shoes, do they have a lot of room for differentiation? Probably. Okay. So at least what you're trying to do. So we know you're probably on the plus side, not on the minus side, right? Do you think that you'll have a huge competitive advantage or a small competitive advantage? Okay. So you know you're not on the minus side, you're on the plus side. That puts you here in specialized, right? Now remember, if you forget, it's in the slides. What kinds of competitive advantages do specialized normally pursue? How do you succeed? Watch me do this with my hands, and it's not going to help you gather anything. It's just me trying to be helpful and then not, right? You maintain your own distinctive niche. That's your implication. You're not going to worry about making running shoes for children or old people. You're going to continue to be the best in your niche for these running shoes that are all terrain. Does that make sense? Now, Deansha, you probably have something a little different. Where do you fit in? Well, do you think that you have a huge differentiation from other hot sauces? Okay, so we can say in your own way. Okay, and do you think you have a huge size of a competitive advantage?
Yes, so I think it always depends on who do it.
Let's go with no, just for the sake of argument. It puts you in fragmented, right? And I happen to like fragmented ones. So in this particular case, it's remain. Do you remember what the implication is? Remain small and adaptable, right? You're going to make hot sauce for the Nashville market. You're going to be the best at making Mexican hot sauces for the Nashville market. And you know what happens? When other people come in beside that are not Mexican, but like from Brazil or something, you'll adapt your recipes to suit Brazilian tastes. If there's like a wave of Brazilian immigrants coming here, right? And maybe you have different kinds of hot sauces for different seasons and different holidays. But you're also the kind that takes a phone call. Hey, I want a hot sauce that's purple. Can you do that for me? Sure. You hang out with them. How in the world am I going to make purple hot sauce? I don't know, but you're going to do it. Remain small and adaptable. Now, what you could say is that's what you're going to do today. Specialized by improving your manufacturing. Because then if you manufacture hot sauce, then it's all for all Tennessee, all of the South, all the US, or even start sending hot sauce to Mexico. You see the logic? How are we feeling? Is this helping? Anaya, you look very worried. Let's see if I can alleviate that worry. So remind me one more time, it is. Oh, right, the Versa, the digital system, huh? So you probably don't have a huge competitive advantage, right? Yeah, I'm guessing not, right? Because there's a lot of people going. So you're probably here. Are you really that different? Exactly. You're probably stalemate. So I'm gonna be honest with you. You say that's where you are. We know that's not a good place to be. These other ones all have advantages, but this is not one that has an advantage. So your implication is what? Yeah, so find a way to make yourself more different so you can move into fragmented. Finding a target audience and becoming maybe specialized. Becoming fragmented, or two more stereotypical ones. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Yep. And when you do that, you move into volume, right? Because then you're selling it for dollars and everybody buys it, and you make a lot of money because you just sell so much of it. Yeah, you make an advantage. You make an advantage, move it into one of these. Uh-huh. But there's one more that's the stereotype. You exit. You say this just isn't working. Let me sell my idea to a competitor, make a lot of money, and move to France and learn to play the guitar. Which is also not bad, right? Okay. Is this helping? Any questions? Would you like guys, three of you, or actually no, I did three of you. You want me to do this for the other two? Should? Okay. And I have had not nearly enough caffeine and not nearly enough sleep today, so I can't remember your. All right. Gosh. Okay. Which, by the way, when you open that, you need to call me because I'm going to be there. But don't let my bias, influence me to buy. All right. So where do you think we sit? Based, and remember, your feasibility analysis gives you this data. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not common, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. And so what are you going to do about that? Possibly. Or just maintain that dominant niche. You're just going to continue to do just so amazing at Indian food and make a lot of money and retire by the time you're 40 and move to France and play the guitar. Right? No problem, right? You don't have to conquer the world to be successful. This is great. I mean, have you ever heard Panda Express selling hot dogs? No, they're doing just fine with Panda Express. Like they don't need to do hot dogs or pizza, right? We don't need to do pizza at Panda Express. Making sense? Hey, this is rock and roll. Frank, help me out.
I think the differentiation is definitely some differentiation because other than the regular chips, it appeals to the southern taste cuisine.
Okay.
But for the size of the competitive advantage, I'm not sure if it's. I can see some bit of fragmentation and also socialization. Well, yeah.
You could be ambidextrous.
Mm.
You're sitting in both. So think about this. So I showed it for years. I can see easily this Indian fast food taking over Nashville, taking over Tennessee, spreading across the US, potentially even going to Mexico, Europe, and beyond. That's a good indicator that we're very specialized. It's exportable. Mhm. I have no idea. It could take a day, it could take years, right? I mean, if you get hooked up with the right venture capital partner, you could spread across like wildfire. If you decide, and I'm going to use two contrasting and stereotypically different examples. White Castle, you guys know them, right? That is the oldest continuously existing fast food in the US. But they only have 2 franchises of White Castle in the world. One's in Scottsdale, Arizona. The other one is in Las Vegas. All the others are direct owned. Because of that, they grew much slower. Because it takes a lot of money from one White Castle to earn enough revenue to save up for a second White Castle. And then it takes a while to grow to a third. And by the way, some places White Castle doesn't do very well also. So it takes a while to make that work. Compare McDonald's, which has a franchise model. They grew because the owners bear a lot of that financial risk. Franchising is also a form of entrepreneurial financing. So if you move with a White Castle model, unless you just do amazingly, your growth will be very slow. But people like White Castle want to maintain that in-house, and that's okay. It's a different opinion. McDonald's is very comfortable letting the franchisees manage the restaurants and trusting that it's going to be done right all the way through. And that's why they've grown so much faster. So this could be a 100-year process like White Castle, or it could be a 30-year process like McDonald's. I don't have an answer for you. Or a venture capitalist does it completely differently. Does that help, Daniel? Your question is good though, but when I laugh, it's not that I'm laughing at your question being silly. It's more of you're asking the $1 million question. Those are the big questions that, we can say I don't know, and we can say I can't know. There's I don't know because I'm not smart enough or I haven't done the research to figure it out, or I can't know because I'm not sure there's a way to know. Those I can't know questions are really, really good. And you ask that I can't know. So it's a laugh of joy, not a laugh of, something else, right? It means you're thinking, which is really good. Okay, so compare this. You have the fragmented, which may really just be the Southern taste, banana pudding and gravy. You're only going to sell that here, and you're not going to sell that anywhere else. And you're specialized because you can export Nashville hot chicken chips to Mexico. Now, let's talk about something that would not make sense. This makes sense. This probably doesn't. I'm struggling to think of, unless it's like fragmented moving to stalemate. You're trying to show that movement. That I could see that happening. Like you're trying to move out, or maybe your volume and moving to stalemate. That's probably more likely with airlines. This makes sense because you're specialized trying to go to volume. Something like this would just be strange. What kind of a business sits in all 4 quadrants? Unless it's a weird bad business, or
you see if you're sitting in all 4. So do you want at all times you this in all 4 is that, or
means they're failing to choose in some fundamental way, or you're not using the tool properly. Now that's another indication, right? If you take a conglomerate like 3M that makes it's diversified industrial, you could say 3M sits all here because it makes everything on the industry side, localized things, volume things. But what would be the point of using this tool in that way to describe that company? You would be much better off talking about sticky notes sit here, healthcare analytics sits here, and actually giving us something we can use. This just says they don't make any trade-offs. It's just not, it's not a good way to use a tool. Does that make sense? How are we feeling? Good. Yeah. And each person, of course, you want to have a speaking role, right? So some things, your friends in Mexico, maybe, that's not an entrepreneurship class. That's an international trade, international business class. So they'll be very strong with like the Incoterms and some of that stuff, and you'll be much stronger with the business plan. But part of this is that you guys should be teaching each other. Like they're going to be learning from you, you're going to be learning from them, right? How we feeling? Why? Don't be nervous. I mean, you're not having issues with your group, are you? Well, you know what? I have just a solution. I'll present it in just a few minutes. Oh, shoot. I'm not going to present it in just a few minutes. I'm going to probably present it now. Time is flown. Okay. Well, let me just finish this thought and then I'll show you what I'm going to do. Key success factors, right? There isn't a chart for this. If you haven't been watching Industry Analysis 1 and 2, Frank, you know, you can't point at that girl who's not here today. She's not here today, so you can't point at her. She looked very guilty when you pointed at her. Lex Kibran, I think is her name. Let's anyhow, so you can't point at her today. But if you haven't been watching that, you're gonna have trouble with key success factor a lot. Key success factor, this is pretty straightforward. This is a chart. You have feasibility analysis. Okay. What do you think about this? Think about a supply and demand curve. You learned this in econ, right? Key success factors are things that blend supply and demand together, or certain things that you are really good at. Okay, so let me use an example. We have hot sauce. Okay. On the supply side, you have to beat the competitors because they make a supply of hot sauce. Does that logic make sense? On the demand side, you have to satisfy the customer's needs or at least placate their complaints. Okay. So when you think about what you get in your feasibility analysis, you have customers that want low prices, and that makes sense, right? You also have other rival firms, aka suppliers, that are good at making things for cheap. So that you know, in order to make the customers happy through low prices and survive the competition, aka make a profitability, you've got to have as a key success factor good manufacturing processes. Does that make sense? Because that keeps it cheap for the customers and helps you beat the competition. Customer, so that could be one of the key success factors. Bullet 2, key success factor number 2. You know that customers want lots of fun flavors on the hot sauce. Demand. You know that in order to beat the competition, they only have a few different flavors. Probably because their manufacturing is not very flexible. Your key success factor would be flexible manufacturing, aka you can retool your plant very quickly to make all those new flavors. You know that customers want to know about the different facets of the product. They want to be informed. Demand. You know that your competition is not very good at marketing for hot sauce. Fantastic social media marketing together that will satisfy both of these requirements. You're thinking about ways to make the customers happy or at least placate their complaints. Make sure that suppliers are defeated or at least held at bay. That's what a key success factor does. Please watch the videos because it explains. I spent a lot of time. 5 forces we can pick up a little bit later, but let me show you something. So, and you mentioned that I'm having a little trouble figuring out what I need to do. So I thought about this, and also kind of a cross-cultural thing. Our friends in Mexico like maybe more structure than what at least we're used for. So this is what we did. And I'll put the due dates in here. But I've got a rubric for your final Zoom calls. I think that structure was helpful for you guys, and so we're going to stick with that. So these are due the following 3 Sundays of this course. Now that doesn't mean you have to do it on Sunday. You just have to do it by Sunday. each of the sentences. So first call by November 9th. Did you talk to him for at least 30 minutes? Did you discuss the following items? Well, look at this. Title slide, we got through most of this. Company description, market analysis, economics of the business. Make sure that you discuss those. Now, some of the stuff you'll do a little bit more on, but some of the stuff they can also help you with, like company description. They may actually have taken some of these things in their classes. Okay, and did you make a time? Talk to them again. The same thing. If you have Zoom Premium, you can submit the Zoom meeting minutes. If you can submit a transcript from Teams, I'll accept that. If you, oh, I should probably stop my recording. That may, well, this thing will record until, oh, anyhow.